Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Secular Homeschool Revolution Podcast. I'm Ashley, your host, and wow, these past few weeks have been crazy. So if you're feeling exhausted and overwhelmed, because I am, know that your feelings are valid and you're not alone, and there's a lot of us feeling all the things. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to take a dive into all of the recent events and how that can impact our progressive beliefs, or at least mine, or what I'm juggling with, and how to navigate these conversations with our kids while trying to maintain some sanity. So grab your favorite drink and let's talk about it. And I have sage burning over here at my house because I'm trying to release. I have my windows open. It rained today, so it's not super hot. Trying to release all this negative energy so we can bring calm and positivity into the week. Instead of a life and podcast update, I do want to take a moment of silence to honor the life of Sonya Massey, who was murdered on July 6th by police brutality. Thank you. And we're going to talk about how this incident contributed to the chaos from the last 14 days. So what exactly has been going on for the last 14 days, give or take? First, Trump got shot and it grazed his ear, and it was overall shocking that it happened at his rally. These pro-gun rights people. And it was everywhere, and that picture of him with his fist in the air, mouthing fight. I was like, oh no, his people are going to eat this up. He is giving them what they think a true patriot is, even though he served no military and isn't even qualified for the job. And he's talked crazy trash about veterans. I was like, oh my gosh, this is bad. This was so bad. And when everyone was like chanting, fight, fight, fight in the news clips, I was like, they're excited in a very sick way. This motivated people. And, RIP to those who lost their lives. And he was shot actually by a very young Republican. You would think this would spark the conversation of gun safety, laws for gun safety, and it absolutely did nothing. So here I was having empathy for these people, and they don't have it for themselves. So just when we're processing that, we hear about the murder of Sonya Massey, and that just felt like a punch in the gut. Like, when I heard it, my breath left my body, my eyes teared up, and I'm like, not again. Justice is supposed to protect us and not harm us. And I will admit, I absolutely did not watch the clip. I don't want to watch black trauma. I know it exists. I've watched all the videos. I've gone to the protests. And I just didn't have it in me. So I watched some news breakdowns, some social media breakdowns, and it doesn't sound like the officer de-escalated the situation at all. She called him to check out her property. There was water boiling on the stove, and he gave her the command to turn it off so it doesn't start a fire, and shot her in the face underneath her eye. Then, as people are doing more digging, there's more news reports. This man has absolutely been written up and fired at other police precincts. And his father-in-law hired him at this one. Then we find out he has racist tattoos on his body, like tattoos that are connected to a white supremacist group. Then we find out his wife was a nurse at the hospital she was treated at. That's a lot to unpack. His father-in-law should definitely face consequences and be held accountable. His wife, who, birds of a feather flock together, is a racist. And imagine the care, the type and quality of care that people of color received from her. It's a lot. And instead of having, and again, also, let's think about the policy that Trump has where he's shouting every time he's on a podium that police deserve immunity. And while this officer is locked up, if this was Trump's time and presidency, this police officer would face zero consequences. And this is why police reform is crucial. And we don't need to use funds to build Cop City in Atlanta. And this is coming from a person who has a family that are full of cops. We need officers trained in cultural sensitivity, mental health, and we need more extensive training hours overall. Because we deserve better. And we know that, again, if I'm being transparent with you, I follow Claudia and Karina. I really like their platform. They have the values that align more with me. And it's just the way I've been leaning. And Biden, when he had that debate with Trump, I'm pretty sure it made a lot of people feel hopeless because we really got to see that he was way past his prime. And there was absolutely no way he could be prepared to do another 4 years. And I thought people were going to vote blue just to have a warm body there that wasn't Trump. And then we were like, oh, you shouldn't have done that debate because that really let us know where you were at mentally. Okay, so then we all were feeling that from that debate, right? And then Trump was just, the thing with this man is he always seems so confident, even when he's lying and just spewing lies and just spewing hate. He's just so confident. And I think he thinks everyone should just eat it up. And I think that's because he sits on the mountain of being a white man in America with privilege. And I think he probably does feel disrespected, deeply disrespected, especially when people of color call him out on his BS, right? And we're not supporting it. Oh, and I don't want to talk about the people of color who support him because they just want that proximity to whiteness. Because this isn't the conservative Republican Party that, my grandma voted for because she was Catholic and she believed in those conservative values, anti-abortion, for whatever that was, right? This is a racist party. So if you align with it, you are racist. If you, and I applaud some of these Republican politicians who are coming out now and saying, you know what? This isn't the Republican Party. This is a new party. This is a MAGA party. This is not okay. And again, I just want to put it out there. I've never aligned with anything conservative. So, this is a MAGA party. So if you're aligning yourself as a MAGA supporter, you are aligning yourself with white supremacy. Point blank, period. This has nothing to do with your religious conservative values. So then we hear Biden steps down and Kamala Harris is the new candidate for presidency, and the crowd goes wild. The mobilization that happened in 24 hours was inspiring. I was on by midnight. I got invited to join the Black Women for Kamala call, the Zoom call, and to see community in that way was beautiful. Then 2 days later, I got invited I logged into the Latinas for Harris. And I had never been a part of something that big, especially with Latinas. So I wanted to cry. And not because I believe in Harris in that way, but just to see community. I am someone who truly believes in community, and that community will save us, and it's important to have community for the future. So, and then we found out it was white men who support Kamala had a Zoom call, and then white women who were breaking Zooms and breaking donation raises had a call. So it was crazy. And people are like, oh, well, they're supporting her because she's a woman of color. Oh, they're supporting her because she's a woman. I think that's an insult to think that people aren't digging that much deeper into what their beliefs are right now, right? Because we do have Project 2025 looming over us, and we have the genocide in Palestine continuing, and that war criminal was here this week asking for more funding and for the U.S. government to expedite the funding. And then we have to think about what we have right now, right? Trump invited the war criminal to Mar-a-Lago to meet with him to break bread, which, for what, sir? What were you doing that for? And then Kamala, while she did call for a ceasefire in March, and she didn't meet with him, she put out this finger-wagging statement against the protesters for burning flags. And it just all felt performative and disappointing. Right? And so it's if you're super progressive, you want to hold your government accountable for supporting this genocide, but you don't want Project 2025. The option to block Project 2025 is vote for Kamala, right? To vote Democrat. And then if you don't vote, you aren't supporting anyone, right? And then it's a lot. Oh, and then let's not forget about J.D. Vance. Every time this man opens his mouth, he just gets worse. It's it's terribly racist, it's very misogynistic, and it's just dumb. He is dumb. So do we go with Trump and J.D. Vance? Do we support Kamala? And again, I'm in the middle of doing my research on Kamala because I wasn't never a big fan, but it's because I always heard, I didn't do my research on what her stances were on a lot of things. I heard she believed in mass incarceration. I believe she was an anti-Black prosecutor. So I'm on the journey of informing myself. Like I said, I was a third-party supporter for Claudia and Karina because I liked them, and they aligned with me. And so I did see that there were several creators that were showing people, walking them through step by step on how to look up her record, what her record means. And also, if there's ever anything like that, looking up someone's record or deciphering what a text means, because a lot of times it can be very legal mumbo jumbo, or even Project 2025 is written in a different, what is the word? It's just not written in a conversational language, right? Read Project 2025 and you get to a point you don't understand, you can put it in Google or you can put it in ChatGPT and ask it to tell you in a casual language to help you understand it, or ask it to break it down for you so that you can have a better understanding of what's going on. Don't ever just take someone's word for it. Hold yourself accountable enough to do your own research. And if you don't know how to do your research, there is resources online that will show you. And that's what I'm on the journey of, is finding the resources for my own self, right? So this was a lot, right, to go on And all this leads to is homeschooling political. And spoiler alert, homeschooling absolutely can be political. And I laugh because, in 2016, I started going to my first homeschooling groups. And, this was during Trump's presidency. And I think I've mentioned it in early episodes, but these people were at these homeschooling groups, right? And they don't come out and say we're white and racist, but they definitely were showing up at these play groups, these meetings, these hangouts in Trump gear and talking about they shouldn't speak Spanish. We're here in America. It's disrespectful. So it is extremely uncomfortable to be a person of color in homeschooling when it's dominated by Christian white nationalists. And while the landscape of homeschooling is evolving, that's still predominantly what homeschooling is. So if you're a BIPOC person, I definitely, again, my phrase for the year is take up space. Take up space to show that homeschooling is not just white, that we are out here as BIPOC people. We are supporting, we are growing, we are secular, we are progressive, because it's a little tense out there. And while we don't have to show up in our political gear, right? Because no one's really for us. We definitely, as a community, deserve way more than what the Democrats and Republicans have given us. We need to make our presence known. And so that other people will feel empowered to homeschool. Other people that look like us will feel empowered to homeschool. And when we're giving our kids this social justice, diverse and inclusive education, we have to think about equality. How can we make equality part of our homeschooling curriculum? And when we do make it a part of our curriculum, we are showing our kids that everyone deserves the same opportunities and respect regardless of their background. So the way we can do it is include reading books with diverse characters, discussing history, a decolonized history, and the contributions of various cultures, and giving voices to marginalized communities. And another way we can do it is by participating in community service. This is definitely something I have to work on, but when we show them about or expose them to community service, we are showing them the importance of community and how to do good for ourselves and each other. What about critical thinking? Because critical thinking is equally important. We want our kids to question everything, to question the world, to think deeply about issues, to be able to form their own opinions and conclusions, right? This isn't about the right answer on the test. It's about deeply analyzing the information, recognizing biases, and just to be able to think independently. I don't know why that's all such a bad thing for people. I mean, we know because we want to silence one community. We want to have one dominant view. And I'm sorry if you hear my son. It's like 9-ish, so he's probably trying to fight his dad about going to sleep. And when we choose to homeschool, right, we're not just teaching our kids. We are raising. And again, let me reference this back because we do know some homeschoolers whose stories are different. So when we're choosing to educate our kids in a secular and progressive way, we are raising informed and compassionate and proactive citizens, right? So in today's world, I think that's more important than ever. And it's like we're supposed to have more access to information. We're supposed to be more informed. But this divide that we have going on right now in this particular country is insane. I didn't think it was going to be this spread apart. I don't know. When I was in my 20s, I was like, oh, we're going to, especially with Obama, I was like, oh, we're moving in the right direction. And then clearly we're not. People got mad. And it is also to think about how mad people get, because it is true that Black women are the most hated people in the world. So if they got mad that Obama won, what do you think is going to happen when Kamala wins, or if she wins? I remember I was at a CVS by myself, going to a friend's house, and I had to like stop and pick up some things. Well, actually, I can tell you, I was picking up some juice because I had bought Malibu and I needed a mixer. So I had stopped at CVS. And when they announced that Obama won, this white man, which he looked, he had a trucker hat on and a button-up plaid shirt. And I can see him to this day. And he had some like Wrangler cowboy jeans on and some boots. And go figure, right? In Texas. And when they announced it, that Obama won, he said, F that, and like hit the magazine rack. Threw his stuff, got out of line, threw his stuff on the ground and said, fucking effing in. And that's not to like spark fear. I'm sure other people can remember when that happened or like what that week was like. People got a little intense and insane, and I think that was also very disheartening for me to see family members who were very Republican see that Obama won and their racism showed. So I was like, oh, delete. But yeah, I think it's rearing its ugly head. But back to my topic. Yeah, so we do have to understand that homeschooling is a form of activism, which I did an episode, but I went back and I think it's still relevant to discuss, 4 or 5 months later, and that homeschooling is a political act, and that we are taking control of our kids' education, and we are making sure that it reflects the values we hold. Also, yeah, that we need to, because they're trying to do all this CRT crap and merge church and state, so we're like, wait a minute. What is it? Louisiana got it passed that the 10 Commandments have to be up in every classroom. Man, that is definitely making those kids who have different belief systems very invisible and ostracized. All right, so do we have honest conversations with our kids about current events? I struggled with this for a little bit, and I just decided to have it with them. I do try to center like joy in their education for the most part, but I want to raise critical thinkers. And so we watch the news, and depending on the day, we will look up the news story on Fox. We will look up the story on CNN, and we'll look up the story on BBC News to get different perspectives or to see how language is used for different point of views, or when they're trying to get an agenda across, right? So by doing that, I'm not committing them to one voice. And that's, again, helping them have the skills to form their own opinion. And I do have conversations with my kids. We were watching the news, and the murder of Sonya Massey came up, and it was like, wow, on their faces, like they were able to digest how messed up this was. And so whenever the news came on, because you never really, unless you just flat out don't watch the news, you don't know the order of the stories a lot of times. And so I was like, hey, yeah, that happened. Her name was Sonya Massey, and something very bad happened to her, and it was sad that is the current system that we have. And they just asked questions like, was it really a police officer? And I said, yes, he hurt her badly to the point where she died. Parker's like, well, yeah, because of police brutality. Kari needed more context, so, Parker said, well, it happens when police use too much force to hurt people. And I supported that and often it's because of their skin color. And it's not fair and it's not right. And it is worth realizing that, Black people, people of color, usually have a higher rate of being mistreated by police officers than any other race. And it's just, we have to acknowledge that it's not fair and it's not right. And a lot of people are very upset about it. And they are trying to make sure it doesn't happen again. How are you feeling about what the news just said, what I just told you? One of my kids were like, that's really sad. Why would the police do that? I believe it was Kari asking. And I let her know, like, your feelings, again, it's valid. It is very sad. I was sad when I first heard about it. I'm still sad. And sometimes people, even people in uniforms who are put on this pedestal to make it seem like they are in the right or they make good decisions, don't. They oftentimes make bad decisions, and unfortunately, police officers have a record of treating people unfairly, especially when they look different from them. And it's important that we are aware of these things and we learn about these things so that we can make the world a better place, so we can try to vote for policies, hold people accountable to make change. And it sometimes can feel very exhausting. It can feel like change is non-existent. Sometimes change is very slow, but we aren't being silent. And if you want to talk about it more, we can. And they both pretty much were sitting with it for a minute and then asked if they could, read a positive story. So we pulled up our Canopy app and we pulled up some positive stories. So it's just making them aware. And I don't think having these conversations are ruining their happy childhood. I definitely think it's helping putting in place these foundational pieces and preparing them for the world. With everything that is going on, it is absolutely crucial for us as parents, as human beings, to take a moment to disengage from the world, to just unplug. I had a friend call me on Thursday, and she was like, girl, are you feeling overwhelmed? And I was like, yeah, I'm feeling overwhelmed. And so she's like, let's get a pizza. Let's watch some trash TV. Let's catch up on life. And that's what we did. We sat on our couch, stuffed our faces, watched trash TV, disassociated from the world for a little bit, or for a while. I was over there from like 11 a.m. to like 6 p.m. And it felt good. And we were able to just support each other with everything, right? Because not just politics, not just police brutality, even just like everyday responsibilities. She's a teacher. She's about to go back next week. So it's a lot. It was a lot. So it was nice to just sit and not have to just process everything or continuously replay things or deal with every time you turn on the TV or get on social media, there's like a political post. So it was nice that we just took a mindful break. And I don't know, you could probably watch something more productive than, trash TV, but it was good for us. So a mindful break will be good. And another way to do mindful breaks other than trash TV is just take a few moments and do some deep breathing, go for a walk, put them toes in the grass or get in some mud and ground yourself. Those are helpful. Some self-care. I'm still on my stretching and journaling journey, and I'm working through that book, How to Show Up for Yourself. And I started doing the Grow with Joe workouts. Like, she has some morning workouts, and that's been feeling really good to do for myself. And so I had to tell my kids, don't come in my room before 8 o'clock. I am taking a moment for myself. And it's been really good. And after you do self-care, then you can tend or like hang out with your family because they're probably feeling a little bit of your stress. Hopefully they aren't, but if they are, do some family time. Do some quality family time without screens or any news updates, play a game, cook together, just have like a good conversation full of a lot of laughter and a lot of eye contact so they can genuinely feel your love and interest in whatever they're saying. Next, lean on your support networks. Talk to other homeschooling parents, right, who are progressive and who are secular. Lean on them. Lean on some friends or some family members who are supportive. And if you don't have that close, lean on some online communities to share your experiences. And you also could drop me an inbox on my Instagram, the Secular_Homeschool Revolution. And I'll be happy to be your friend, because at the end of the day, we're building a community of secular and progressive homeschoolers. Okay, so we're wrapping up this episode. It has been a tough couple of weeks. I mean, if it brings you peace, remember we're all in this together. As progressive homeschool parents, we have the power to educate and empower our kids to make a positive impact on the world. So let's continue to support each other. Let's stay informed. Let's take care of ourselves and our families. And I thank you. I thank you for your time. I thank you for joining me today on the Secular Homeschool Revolution Podcast. If you have any thoughts or questions, feel free to reach out. Until next time, take care and keep revolutionizing your kids' education. Don't forget to subscribe, give me a 5-star review on Spotify. Your support means the world to me, and keep leaving me comments. I've had some of the most encouraging comments the last couple of weeks. So I have, a lot more followers on my Spotify than I do my YouTube. So what people have been doing is my Spotify followers have been going to my YouTube to leave me comments under the episodes they've been listening to, so that's nice. So thank you once again from the bottom of my heart. Thanks for supporting me and the Secular Homeschool Revolution Podcast. Bye for now.